Hello! Welcome to the kingdom of Kaiser and Astraea. I am back after such a short period. I'm a little concerned at the current moment because it looks like the kilobytes per second is like going literally all over the place. Likely the internet's just being bad, which really sucks, but hopefully it'll level out. Yeah, so once again, welcome. This is, oh gosh, part 3 of Sam's route. I've been excited to play all day because I was like, oh my god, the drop rate is really high all of a sudden. I've literally never had the frames drop before. That is so weird. Well, hopefully it'll go down. It's going down, so I guess it's leveled out. That is so weird. Wow. What a bad way to start. I just got off work, so I guess I should have waited until my mind was fully ready for whatever this is. So last time we chose to train with Sergeant. We got to the demon world and Sam is now with us. Diana got strangled twice. That was not good. We should refrain from doing that in the future. That would be good. I would appreciate that. Other than that, that's all that happened, really. So, I guess we will continue on. We get to train for the first time with Sergeant. So, I chose to train with Sergeant. He seemed to be skilled in combat, and he was the commander of the main army, so I trusted him to train me to be strong and dependable. I didn't want to be a silent observer in this war. I would pull my own weight. Sergeant led me outside of the castle onto an empty training ground. Footprints and wear showed that the space was well used, but the only ones in the area at the moment were Sergeant and myself. The air seemed fresh, and the faint smell of flowers and fauna swept past my nose. However, I didn't get time to enjoy the atmosphere.
Human, I will not waste my breath hollering at you like a soldier, but I expect you to listen like one. Now stop sniffing the air and face me.
Well, he caught on quite quickly. I quickly nodded and turned around to face Sergeant. I pressed my arm to my sides, ready and at attention for my next order. Sergeant stared hard at me, making me slightly nervous. How was he going to train me? Sergeant began to slowly walk around my body, letting his eyes trail up and down my form in an analytical gaze. I stood still, not sure if he wanted me to follow along, and knowing he would command me to move if I needed to. He remained silent, walking in circles around me like a slowly encroaching vulture. I felt a twinge of irritation at his lack of action. I was supposed to be training. Remain silent, or what are you doing? Well, I think my main role is to listen, so we're going to remain silent. I had to remain calm. He was probably figuring out what I could and couldn't do based on my body type. It was a smart thing to do rather than teach me something I might not be able to do. What wasn't smart was feeling his hand push against my back and shove me forward, making me land on my hands and knees. Oh, gah! Hey! I looked back, suddenly angry at Sergeant. What the hell was that for? I locked eyes with Sergeant to see him crossing his arms and almost smirking down at me.
So you do have some rage in you. Good.
Oh. Now I feel like I should have asked what... Oh, man. What? Rage? Was I supposed to be angry? I quickly jumped back onto my feet and stood up, brushing myself off as I glared at Sergeant.
Rage is a form of raw energy, wild like fire and tamed with patience. If used properly, rage can be very deadly. Very few demons can harness it, but brute demons are the masters of rage.
That explains him a lot. I felt a little enlightened. Rage was also a form of energy. I felt a small spark in my core, remembering how angry I was with Sergeant, and mentally noted that what I felt could be tapped into rage energy instead of just felt as regular emotion. Sergeant cracked his neck and let out a small sigh.
However, since you're a human, there's no guarantee that you can truly use your rage in battle. This is just a test to see what you can do.
What if I can't harness it?
Then you're shit out of luck. I don't have the time or patience to train you like a regular soldier, human. Now is your only chance not to fuck it up.
Well, shit. I gulped silently. This was my only chance to try it. It definitely seemed like a challenge, but was I really up for it? Sergeant shook his head.
Humans are really easy to read. Don't doubt yourself just yet, human. You haven't even started.
Looking up at Sergeant, I could tell he was being genuine. Still, I wasn't sure that I was even able to do what he expected me to do. What could rage energy do anyway? I guess I would have to wait and learn. Sergeant rolled his shoulders and held out his hand, pointing it at a training dummy that was set up in the middle of the field. As his hand hovered in the air, it began to slowly emanate a red aura. I stared wide-eyed as it began to grow in intensity.
Watch closely, human.
Watching. Soon a black orb formed right in front of his open palm, wrapped in a dark red lightning that seemed to arc over its surface. I guess it's kind of like the Demon Lord in a way, because red seems to be his color. The orb grew larger and larger with each second that passed. As I looked over at Sergeant, I noticed his eyes were glowing a dark gold. His expression was full of anger, but his body was opposing the emotion on his face with a calm and concentrated stance. When the orb finally reached the size of a basketball, Sergeant pulled his hand with the orb back behind his body and then thrust it forward, releasing the orb at his target. Like a lightning bolt, wow, I'm just so bad right now. Like a lightning bolt, the orb flew forward and slammed into the training dummy, ripping it from the rod that was holding it up. However, Sergeant suddenly vanished from his spot and reappeared right in front of the flying dummy. Oh. What the? With a swift kick, Sergeant sent the dummy flying towards the surrounding forest. The unfortunate dummy slammed and nearly exploded against the base of a tree, breaking apart into pieces as it landed. I was shaking just from the sight. How did he... Sergeant landed on the ground and turned back to me, walking away from the result of his attack. He cracked his hands and rolled his head, stretching it as if it was just a warm-up. That was... cool. Don't finish your sentence or scary. I want to say cool, but I feel like he's going to be like, you... Let's try cool. Sergeant chuckled as he finally stopped walking. It was true, though. He was faster than I could catch and powerful enough to practically demolish the dummy. I was curious to see what he could do when he wasn't just training or showing off. Sergeant then pointed to a second dummy and ushered me forward. Oh shit.
Now, focus on your rage. You felt it already, but you need to rekindle it and capture it in your hand.
My hand. Sergeant nodded before reaching over and lifting my arm up, positioning it like how he did when he had attacked the first dummy. It clicked. He wanted me to do the same thing he did. I looked at the back of my hand, suddenly nervous. Would I be able to do the same thing he did? He was already trained in this and knew what to do. I was practically jumping into this without a life jacket. My nerves began to dance around as fear shook my core. Oh my gosh, girl. No, you gotta get angry. You gotta get angry. Even still, was rage something that I really wanted to try and use? Seemed like it was some sort of volatile power, dangerous and deadly if not controlled properly. Yeah, I have a boyfriend who's kind of dangerous and deadly. Sam. It's like his definition. More so, if I got used to my rage, would I become dependent on it? Was this something I really wanted to do? Am I really asking this question? That's so dumb. Yes. Yes. If Sergeant believed I could control it, then I had to believe him. He was the master of that kind of power, so he would know better than me. I focused on the back of my hand, concentrated on trying to replicate Sergeant's attack. I tried to imagine a black orb appearing before my palm and watching it grow, but nothing came. I began to get frustrated.
Don't focus on the attack. Focus on your rage. Fuel it with reason and you will control it.
The burning flame in my gut began to flicker, reminding me of the anger I felt before. I quickly latched onto it, tightening my stomach and focused on making it burn brighter. I had to fuel it somehow. Think of your fiancé, think of the human world, think of the demon lord. I mean, that's pretty obvious which one I should do. I felt myself begin to think about the demon lord. The bastard brought me here all for spite, and I was trapped here until we killed him. I was sick just from imagining his laughter, his dark voice in the air. The more he spoke, the more I wanted to end him with my own hands. I wanted to seal his fate myself and use my anger to show him who was stronger. That's the way to do it. I was forced to remain in this world, and I couldn't do anything about it until we met face to face. I wanted to go home, but my asshole, soon-to-be father-in-law, trapped me here. The more I thought of it, the more the flame within me grew. My body became warm, and heat surged through my veins in response. Soon my vision became clouded in a ruby haze, as if I was looking at the world through foggy red goggles. However, the one thing that I was able to focus on was the dummy ahead of me between my fingers, glowing in a strange black aura. Was this how the brute demons saw their enemies? The energy in my body began to slowly weave into my hand, forming a baseball-sized orb that slowly became bigger and bigger with each breath I took. I could hear Sergeant smirk behind me in pride. As the energy in the orb became almost too large to hold, I felt my body completely tense up, and strange winds began to pick up around my body. I quickly brought the orb back and roughly pushed it forward towards my target.
Now run at it!
At his shout, I quickly stepped forward. I began to hyper-focus onto the dummy as my orb slammed into its torso and bent it back over its stand. I felt enraged that I wasn't able to break it off, adding to the energy burning within my body. I wanted to kick the shit out of it. I wanted to make it bust open like a piñata. If I had to do it with my own foot, then I would do it over and over until it was completely decimated, like how Sergeant dealt with his own trainee dummy. Now I'm just imagining the main character just kicking the shit out of this dummy. I suddenly came face to face with it as I rushed at it. I brought my leg back and slammed it into the dummy's head and ripping it from its torso. The head flew back a couple feet and skidded across the ground before rolling to a stop by the foot of a tree. Aw, yeah. Sam would be so proud of me. My fury became out of control. Oh dear. I found myself becoming livid at the results of my attack, causing me to pummel a flurry of punches into the remaining dummy torso, making it bounce off and slam itself into each impact. Grrrr! My knuckles and fingers were aching from each impact as waves of pain rushed through them. I didn't give a damn, nor could I find any reason to. My mind became lost in my rage as I continued to take it out on my non-living victim.
Hey!
Sergeant's like, yo, bruh. But from behind me, a pair of large arms hooked themselves up from my torso and yanked me back, locking their hands behind my head and effectively holding my flailing and twitching arms in place. Still, the blood-red tint of the world didn't dull and my anger wasn't going away. I was pretty sure that I was foaming at the mouth, but my overwhelming fury overcame all of my senses.
Breathe, you little brute!
Never! My instincts began to kick in, forcing me to take in hard and deep breaths. With each inhale, my body became racked with shivering lactic acid, and with each exhale, the flame within my core began to slowly die. I am literally a fire. You want to know me, but I am burning fire. It's a real song, I promise. After what seemed like minutes within Sergeant's arm lock, the red within my eyes vanished, and even the dribble around my lips seemed to have vanished, leaving me an aching mess of a being, and it caused me to slightly go limp in Sergeant's arms.
There you go. Geez, you've got a lot of energy for a human.
I do. I'm a powerhouse, Sergeant. I slowly looked back at Sergeant as he released me and stretched one of my arms up, causing my shoulder to creak and stretch out the ache within it. I felt a bit embarrassed at what I had done, but as Sergeant stretched out my other arm, he laughed.
At least we can skip to teaching you how to control your rage.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. How do I do that? I felt out of breath as my body became overwhelmed with a dull ache, probably from me letting loose on that dummy. Man, I wish I could do that. Sometimes I get so mad, but I don't have good channeling of it. I just kind of sit there and I'm like, well, I feel like shit, and there's nothing I can do about it. I've thought about doing the whole, get a baseball bat and, with a pillow and just, hit the shit out of a pillow, but, it's so much work. I'd have to find a baseball bat. Sergeant gently tilted my head to side to stretch my neck before running his knuckles over my back, working out the unknown knots in it. Okay, it's a little weird. I'm not sure how much. I don't really want him touching me that much.
Just breathe. When you're pissed, you take a step back and breathe. It's the same thing when using rage.
Seems so simple, but if it got me out of the state I was in, then it was good enough to agree with and nod to an understanding.
Everything going fine out here?
Oh, yeah. Sergeant and I looked over to see Diana walking over to us from the castle door, crossing her arms and staring at us both.
We're good. We're just getting started.
That's good to hear. I'm on my way to the training block now to work with the troops and just wanted to stop by.
Thanks, Diana. Diana nodded and turned. As Diana nodded and turned, Sergeant suddenly stepped away from me towards her.
Succubus!
Doubting my skills as a leader already, Commander?
I stared wide-eyed as Diana turned her head and looked at Sergeant with a stern and almost degrading gaze. What the hell? Where did that come from? Sergeant stared right back at her, but I could very faintly see his hand glow a soft layer of red before he closed his eyes and let it vanish with a breath.
No, I wasn't.
Then what is it?
Nothing.
Sergeant turned back to me and crossed his arms, obviously irritated at Diana, but somehow unwilling to fight her about whatever was on his mind. As Sergeant turned away from her, Diana shook her head and started to walk away.
You forget who trained the rebellion before you came around.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. As Diana finally left, disappearing into the forest, Sergeant, however, maintained a stoned, agitated facial expression. That was uncalled for, but it put a little perspective on things. She trained the rebellion before he came and took on the role of army commander. Sergeant shook his head.
Some training you did back then, Succubus.
Well, I don't know what that means. Sergeant? Sergeant lifted his head to look at me before letting out a sigh.
What?
Are we going to continue? Are you all right? Let's try to be nice. If that's not a effective means with him, then we'll go to the other one. He seemed a bit miffed, but the idea was crossed in my mind when he scoffed and shook his head.
I'm fine. Let's just get back to training.
We continued to train through the day, switching between controlling my rage and letting it loose on a training dummy or even a tree. The longer I went at it, the easier it became to control myself and come out of a frenzied state of mind. By the end of the training, I was able to do Sergeant's move just without being able to knock the dummy off of its post. That was infuriating, but I had to remember that I wasn't going to master everything, nor was I strong enough in the first place. I was a human and not a demon, let alone a brute demon. I was learning how to better defend myself, and that is the goal. So, well, I think that went well. I don't know. I'm surprised that there was literally no music throughout the whole thing of that. I was like, okay. I walked in the room and let out a sigh. Today was rough, and I could tell it was only going to get much tougher later in the week. I felt my feet slide across the floor in exhaustion, not used to the strenuous work I had to do. I sat down on the bench in front of the fireplace, staring into the flames as I let relaxation finally hit my body. The warmth of the fire gave me a dull sense of calm, causing me to sigh and lean back against the bench.
You have done well, child.
God, would you leave me alone? Huh? You again.
Fear not. I come to observe you as you observe me.
Yeah, but you have an advantage. You can read my thoughts. I tilted my head, confused as to what the voice meant. I looked around and scoured the room before turning my gaze back to the fire. Within it, I could barely make out the outline of eyes, which caused me to freeze in my spot. Yes! Ooh! Okay, maybe it's Satan. Maybe it's Satan instead. Not God. Who knows? What the hell? You're the fire.
I am a flame, but I am not the fire you gaze upon. I merely look through it to judge you, and the one named Maurice.
Is that his demon name? Is that Sam's demon name? You're judging us? Why? For what?
That will be known soon. When the time is right, the one destined to take my power will be tested.
I stared into the fire, lost and confused. Why were we being judged? Was this some sort of trick by the Demon Lord? As I thought of that, the flame intensified slightly.
The Demon Lord, an evil being of this world. He is a curse plaguing this land.
Well, you don't seem to be all great either. You hate the Demon Lord as well.
He is not worthy of life, but I care not enough to rise from the darkness to rid the world of him myself.
This is just weird. What do you mean?
I have been generous with you, child. You must now be patient.
I hate being patient. Before I could even think to protest, the eyes hidden within the flames vanished, and the voice disappeared from my mind, as if it were part of a dream I had awoken from. I shook my head and rubbed my eyes, taking it in. Some sort of spirit or guardian was watching over us. Apparently it seemed to be strong enough to defeat the Demon Lord himself. Was it possible? Even more so, it was going to test one of us to take its power? My mind instantly went to Sam. There was no reason for me to be the one to be tested, so it had to be him. How would he be tested, though? I shook my head. This was too confusing to think about right now. However, as I sat back and let my mind reorganize itself, I suddenly realized something. Please tell me she's going to realize about the dream, because she had a dream in which he was deemed not worthy and he was killed in flames. Where was Sam? Oh, well, yeah, that is a problem. I stood and walked to the door, opening it and peeking out into the hall. Sam was nowhere in sight. What the? Sam was really late in coming back. From what we discussed, he should have been back or at least on the way. However, the distance to the training area was not that far. I began to wander the halls, trying to find where they were. Luckily, Sam made a lot of noise.
Fuck you!
Oh dear. Sam? I rushed towards the noise, stopping at an open door. Peering in, I gasped as I saw the war room in disarray as everyone seemed to hug the walls, watching the chaos that was breaking in the middle of the room. Ooh! Who is he fighting? Sam looks awesome. I guess that would be Shadow. I don't know. Oh, it's Seto again. Of course. Of course it's Seto again. Sam and Seto were clashing sword to spear, with Sam's face full of rage and Seto's expression void of any emotion. Of course.
You're too slow. Faster!
Oh, they're actually training. Oh, that's good.
Want me to go faster? Fine!
Before my eyes, Sam and Seto became barely visible shadows through the air. Their weapons clanged rapidly, almost like multiple bullets crashing at once as they arced toward one another. What is going on? Linky and the wives moved toward the door to join me, still watching the fight.
Sam was about to leave for the night, but then that jerk at Sero called him a weak coward. Ugh, you know how Sam is. He did actually try to walk away, but then Sero said that the war was his fault, so that got this whole shitstorm started. We've been at it ever since.
Damn, Seto, what is wrong with you? The hell? I looked back at Seto and Sam, still unable to make either of them out as they clashed and fought. My eyes locked on Diana, seeing her lean against the far wall with arms crossed. As I examined her, her eyes seemed to follow the fight almost masterfully. Was she able to see what the hell was happening despite their lightning speed? Why was she just watching anyway? Sam, stop!
Keep at it, Seto. Don't let him stop.
What? What the hell? I ran over to Diana, despite her not taking her eyes off the fight. Why aren't we stopping this, Diana? Wait and watch or attack Diana. I'm gonna wait and watch, I guess. I don't want to attack Diana. I'm sure there's like a reason for this. I wasn't understanding. Why was I not getting my answer? I turned my gaze to the fight, just desperate to try and see what Diana wanted me to witness.
Are you that weak, Incubus? You haven't landed a blow on me once!
Shut your fucking mouth!
Like father, like son!
I still don't understand why Seto was egging him on and insulting him, but Sam seemed up for the battle regardless of the fact, using the insult as Inspirational. Wow. Wow. Inspirational rage. However, from the faint outline of Sam that I could see, I noticed something off about him. He was surrounded by a heavy green and red mixed aura. The more I watched, the more the aura seemed to build and take shape around Sam's body. I couldn't tell what it was, but it almost looked alive.
Enough!
Yeah, now that she mentions it, I see it. At once, Sam and Seto slid to opposite sides of the open space, panting and gasping for air. Around Seto was a faint white light that was diminishing with each breath he took. Around Sam, however, was a clear view of a tense and red-green aura. It seemed to flicker around Sam like flames, but it didn't seem to die even when the battle began, or even with the battle being over.
What the hell? What is that?
Seto.
Diana pushed off the wall and walked to Seto, wrapping an arm around him and making him gasp at the gesture. He looked at her in shock as she turned to Sam with a hard gaze.
It would seem that we have much to do before the siege.
I am so lost. What are you talking about? Diana seemed to ignore my question as she turned and began to walk towards the room's exit with Seto in her arm. Sam, on the other hand, dropped to the floor and sat back against the wall, trying to calm down. Instinctively, I rushed over to him. Why won't anyone answer me? Oh my god, that is like one of my pet peeves. Ugh. Sam shut his eyes as he forced himself to take deep breaths. Each one seemed less labored than the last, but I could tell that he was working to calm his rage. Sam? The odor around Sam finally seemed to die down before Sam let out a heavy sigh and pressed his head against the back wall. I could tell that exhaustion was weighing on him heavily, so I simply sat beside him, waiting.
Sam, what is going on?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sam, you had a weird aura around you.
I said I don't know!
Sam closed his eyes and pressed his back against the wall, letting his head drop to his chest. He genuinely didn't seem to know what was going on, but I became concerned. Why was his aura so strange? My thoughts ran to the voice from the flame. Was this part of whatever test he had in mind? Why were Diana and Seto involved, though? Sam finally opened his eyes and looked to me. His irises flashed gold at the sight of me, but quickly returned to emerald as he let out a sigh. Ask if he's okay again, or wait patiently. Well, shit. That's I don't know. We're gonna wait. He's the kind of person that he just needs the space. I knew Sam well enough not to pester him and to let him settle down. As he stared, he reached a hand up and gently ruffled my hair.
Sorry you had to see that.
It's all good. I'm just concerned for you, babe. I just want to know what's going on. Oh, good, he's smiling. I shook my head and held his hand, kissing his palm. As I did, Sam chuckled and stood, ushering me to stand along with him. Sam gently took my head and walked to lead me out of the room.
Hey, hold on!
Go away,
Shut
brothers.
up, Squirt.
Squirt! What the hell?
Matthew, hey, chill!
I looked back to see Nora and Damien holding Matthew back from pouncing at Sam, but I continued with Sam out of the room. As we walked down the hall, I looked to Sam, seeing the exhaustion in his eyes grow heavier and heavier. He had used a lot of energy. I wrapped my arm around him and guided him back to our room, sitting in bed and eventually flopping back onto it with me. As he let out a relaxed grunt, I kissed his cheek. Everything okay?
Yeah. Just exhausted. Man, fuck that guard.
Yeah, really. Seto is he's one of my least favorite characters, actually, just because, he he's got tunnel vision. All he cares about is Diana. And he's, too submissive to her. It drives me crazy. I smiled and hugged him, ushering him to wrap his arms around me and kiss my forehead.
Something really has been weird, though.
I agree. Both of us went silent as we became lost in thought. I knew Sam was trying to determine what happened, but I was concerned over what the voice said in the flame, what the voice in the flame said and how that reflected on Sam. The nightmare I had made a little more sense, but why was I involved? Sam and I went to bed that night, both unsure of what was going on and mildly fearful of what was happening. We couldn't speak about it without knowing all of the pieces. We both knew better than to take stabs in the dark. The night was uneventful, but my morning wasn't the same. Well, shit. I didn't expect to wake up with a hand over my mouth and an arm tight around my waist. I tried to focus my vision, but as the sensation of my situation set in, I gasped and struggled to see who was keeping me captive.
Quiet.
Zero? I swear to fucking God, I will murder you. I stared wide-eyed, seeing Seto staring ahead of us as he kept his mouth shut and held me against him with his other arm. What was even stranger was that he was using holy magic, disabling me to use any of my energy to fight back. What the hell? I looked ahead of us to see a sight I never wanted to see. Diana straddling over Sam's waist as he slept, looking down at him with pure concentration. What was she doing now? Did this have something to do with what happened last night?
Patience, child.
Oh my fucking God. I froze at the sound of the voice in my head. The voice was in on this act too?
She's merely following instructions. No harm will come to him.
Struggle or be patient. Well, fucking fuck. Like, no, this is so not okay. Struggle. I didn't care. This was beyond wrong. Whatever the hell Diana wanted to do to Sam. I started struggling Sandro's arms, but he tightened his hold on me, making me freeze against him.
You have fire within you, but now is not the time to release it.
Look, bitch. Diana let out a small sigh before pressing her index finger into the top of her head and dragging it down her face, between her eyes, and all the way down to her crotch. What the? Can you not? The line that formed on Diana's skin seemed to grow and envelop her body in a strange purple light, changing her skin and almost shrinking her form. As the magic finally settled and faded away, I gasped at the sight. Diana's new body was my own, only without clothes. Oh, no! Ew! Stop! Every curve, every crevice of her body matched mine, and even the voice that came out of her mouth perfectly mirrored my own. Ew! No! 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 This is so not okay. I guess I should say it. Yeah. Sam, wake up. I felt nauseous watching her run her fingers along Sam's hair, just like I would. Ugh! How the hell did she know anything about how Sam and I interacted intimately? This was creepy and gross, and I felt myself naturally struggle against Seto to be free. Sam's eyes fluttered open and adjusted to the sight of me straddling over his hips. As Diana gave him my perfect smile, I mentally panicked. What was he going to do? Would he fall for this? No way. There was no way. Oh, please, Sam. Please figure it out. Sam's eyes trailed up and down Diana's body, just like how he would with me whenever he saw me without clothes. My heart was breaking a bit at the sight. Yeah, this is so wrong. I hate this. I hate this so much right now.
Get the fuck off me.
Yes! Sam! Oh, yes! Thank you, Sam! I love you. Wait, what? Oh my God. Thank God. I gasped as Sam suddenly sat up, gripped Diana's neck, and began to squeeze. Instinctively, Seto tightened his hold on me, most likely struggling to obey previous commands to stay put. Fuck you, Seto.
What the fuck do you think you're doing, bitch?
Thank you. Sam, stop. No. You piece of shit. A large part of me felt relieved that Sam could see whatever illusion Diana threw on herself. The smaller part of me began to fear Diana's neck being snapped because of it. Bitch deserves it. She continued to act like me to perfection as she gripped Sam's wrists. It was mildly scary to see Sam holding Diana, who looked like a copycat of me. In a strange, messed up way, it was like watching a movie where I was a character in the scene, watching the man I loved act with the actress playing me. The more I watched Sam crush Diana's neck, the more I can imagine him doing that to me, which made me fearful. He would never hurt me, but to see it happening to someone who looked and acted like me was another thing. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, yeah. Yes.
If this is some kind of fucked up joke to you, I will end you right now!
Diana began to cry, most likely losing air from Sam's death choke on her. As she coughed, her body began to quake from lack of oxygen. Please, Sam, it's me!
Shut the fuck up!
Sam released a hand from Diana's neck and pushed it into her stomach, lifting her off of him and shoving her off his lap and against the far wall. Diana crumpled against the floor, curling herself over as she coughed violently and shook from the pain that obviously racked through her. Sam, however, jumped out of bed and walked at Diana, glaring down at her.
You're not her. Where is she, Diana?
Diana looked up at him, tears rushing down her, well, my eyes, as she gripped her neck. Sam, it's me! Stop it! Sam quickly lifted his foot, causing Diana to flinch and cover herself with her hands over her head, bracing for impact. While I expected Sam to fall for Diana's trick at the sight of my weakness, he let the kick he was charging up fly into Diana's stomach, slamming her against the wall. Yeah, this is not working. Like, just give up. He didn't stop, however, slamming his foot again and again into her, rebounding her against the wall like a soccer ball. Damn.
Where is she?
My body began to quake at the sight of Sam kicking Diana, who very much continued to act like me despite the barrage of pain Sam was inflicting on her. This was messed up and wrong. Why was Diana doing this? Why was she letting this happen?
She is following my instructions as I demanded.
This is fucking stupid. God. Fuck your directions. I began to grow fearful of Sam, instinctively placing myself in Diana's place. It was only natural since she was acting like me right now. Deep in my heart, I knew Sam would never do this to me. But the fear began to fester at the sight of him beating down an image of me.
Fear not, child. He knows very well who he is becoming. I can hear his heart crying as yours is now.
What do you mean?
He despises doing this, but you have become priority over the illusion. He pretends to see the succubus as she really is, as he tries to get his answer. A truly interesting demon.
Yeah, he's smart. He's actually really fucking smart. I shut my eyes. Diana was doing a job, and Sam obviously saw through it. He wasn't attacking me, he was attacking Diana for tricking him and assuming she was hiding me from him. I only opened my eyes again to see Sam lift Diana by the throat and pin her to the wall, forming a sword in his free hand and lining the tip between her eyes. Even with the blade mere inches away from her face, Diana continued to act, crying and shaking in fear. Eomaris!
I will kill you!
Within a blink, the hold on me vanished and Sam flew back from Diana, releasing her and slamming into the far wall. I crumbled to the ground and quickly looked up to see Seto holding Diana close to his side as his form emanted a holy white aura. His eyes burned intense, deadly hatred as a white-tinted magical bear surrounded his and Diana's bodies. Sarah, would you fuck off? They are the ones doing this, and then Seto hates and Seto hates us for it? You can fuck off. Oh my god. This is actually the most I have hated both Diana and Seto this entire time. Like, I really don't like them right now.
Enough!
Sam shook his head and jumped up, but at the sight of the real me, he instantly dropped his sword and tackled me, wrapping his arms around me and hugging me tightly.
Holy shit! You're okay!
Sam! I stared into his shoulder, feeling him shake violently as he held me. Oh, he was scared, baby. My body couldn't help but shudder with him, feeling every ounce of his love as he gripped me tightly. He knew where his heart belonged, and it led him back to me, even with unbelievable odds attempting to sway him. I wrapped my arms around Sam and buried my face into his shoulder, nodding to him. I'm right here, Sam. Sam refused to let go, digging his fingers into my shirt and pulling me even closer still to his chest. I could feel his heartbeat pound against his chest as he pressed me against him. I, however, peeked over Sam's shoulder to see Diana shift back from my image to her own, collapsing against Seto. With ease, Seto lifted Diana into his arms like she was a bride who had fainted, but continued to glare at the back of Sam's head. Finally, Sam lifted his head and looked at Seto, growing a glare of his own.
Tell that bitch to stay away from me if she wants to keep breathing.
I can hear you, brute.
So, let him speak against Diana or tell Sam the truth. I mean, I don't want him to go off without, him knowing what's going on, so Sam was completely right to be angry. He had every right to want her to stay away from him. However, he also deserved to know the truth of why they did what they did. Sam, they had to. Sam looked at me with a confused look mixed with anger, still emanating from his rage at Diana, no doubt. I gripped Sam's shoulder and forced him to fully face me. There's this voice that keeps saying that you're being tested. It said that Diana and Seto were following its orders and testing you. I knew I was making little to no sense, but it was the truth of the matter. Sam had to believe me. His eyes continued to flood with confusion, making me worried.
She's telling the truth.
I didn't ask you, bitch.
I agree.
She doesn't need your permission to speak, mutt.
Sam closed his eyes and pressed his lips together, most likely taking in what they had said before he glared at Seto and Diana.
Why?
Seto continued to glare at Sam in silence, but Diana lifted her head and looked to Sam from Seto's arms.
Because it said it will ensure our victory.
Sam raised an eyebrow, slowly starting to believe that this was a false reason, but I held his arm, looking to him in hope and earnest. Sam took a moment to look at me before sighing and shaking his head.
What said that?
Some powerful being. I don't know why, but I can feel that this being is more powerful than any of us.
Is that it?
Diana nodded and rested her head against Seto's chest, causing him to hug her body against him.
It won't speak its name, but we're certain we'll find out what it is.
Sam nodded before looking to the ground.
Can you go now?
Without another word, Seto walked out of the room with Diana, most likely to help her recover for the training day ahead. God, I fucking hate Seto right now.
I'm going to kick the shit out of him in training.
Who, Seto or... At last we were alone. I let out a sigh and wrapped my arms around Sam, laying my forehead against his shoulder. Are you okay?
No, I'm not. Whatever this thing that keeps testing me is, it got you involved.
Sam wrapped his arms around me and buried his head in my hair, letting out an aggravated sigh.
I'm sorry. Diana was pretending to be you, and I just...
I could hear the regret in his voice, slightly breaking my heart. I knew deep down that he would never hurt me, and that he was just trying to find me. I was wise enough to know the reason for his anger. Don't say anything, it's okay, Sam. I mean, why would I not say it's okay? We understand, what happened. Sam was distraught and I needed to ease his worries. I understood him perfectly. I hugged Sam to me and kissed his cheek as he trembled in my arms. He wrapped his arms back around me and simply let silence pass between us.
What the fuck is going on?
That's what I'm wondering. What? Even I, at this point, I'm just okay, Diana and Seto would never just oh, okay, this random entity is telling me to do shit and I'm just gonna do it. What? And then, the links that they're going to, and then Seto's, hatred of Sam. It's I understand that Seto hates Sam because Sam keeps, hurting Diana, but they are instigating it. They are instigating the situation, so Seto has nowhere to talk. Oh my god. What the fuck is going on? I didn't know what to say, so I simply held him until it was time to train. I headed towards the west side of the castle, knowing Sergeant would either be there outside expecting me or would arrive there shortly after me. Nevertheless, I was ready to train again with him. Yeah, I'm full of anger. I am ready to kick the shit out of some training dummies. What? Oh, hello. Look at his... I love his beard. I love it. What I wasn't expecting was to see another man in the field, brandishing a large warhammer. He seemed very intimidating, but I seemed to be less threatened than when I first met Sergeant. He, however, had a hard gaze in my direction. Who?
Human! You do not belong here!
I stared at the stranger, seeing him raise his warhammer and slam it into the ground in front of him. As the hammer impacted, the earth began to quake, and a large crack in the earth began to form, tearing its way towards me. Scream, jump, attack. Well, let's not jump. Do you see that? It's oh no, it was timed! Oh! Well, in that shit. Wait, hold on. In that case, load. Might be. I didn't realize there was a time bar. I was gonna jump. It's okay, Sam. Skip. We are going to jump. I instantly jumped up, forcing energy beneath my feet to push me higher into the air. As I did, the crack in the earth ripped the spot I was standing on previously. I quickly landed beside the broken earth, glaring hard at the stranger and labeling him as an enemy in my mind.
Attack if you dare, human!
I felt myself snarl as rage suddenly bubbled up in my core, causing me to rush forward and wind up in front of him with a raised fist. I slammed my fist into the being's chest, but quickly broke out of my rage state as my hit didn't send him flying back. The pain that jolted through my hand caused me to jump back and grip my fingers tightly. It was like trying to deck a steel wall. I was pretty sure I'd broken my hand from the force I put behind it. Oh, shit. Gah! What the hell? I quickly looked at my opponent as he lifted his warhammer and arched it to slam down onto my body. With the pain within my hand coursed through my body... Oh, the pain within my hand coursed through my body, leaving me frozen.
Enough!
The hammer stopped its descent toward me, freezing right above my head. I stared at the surface that would have crushed me, slightly shaking at the realization of the situation. I could have been pulverized. I slowly looked over to Sergeant to see him walking over from the forest line. The stranger lifted his warhammer and rested it on his shoulder as he stepped back from me. This was planned. Oh, duh.
Your hand all right?
No. I looked down at last at my hand, fully taking the sight of how mangled it had become. It was quickly swelling and bruising, and I could feel the dislocation of a couple fingers. Maybe it was the adrenaline rushing through me that blocked me from screaming at the pain. Or maybe this was me getting stronger? Sergeant grimaced at the sight and walked over, taking my hand and observing it.
Yeah, it's fucked up pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry, sir.
Aw.
Nah, you did your job. Stand down for now, Danthulir.
You're cool, dude. It's cool, it's cool. I looked to the stranger to see him nod and take another step back away from me. Sergeant, however, grasped my hand, causing a jolt of pain to rush down my arm. Ugh! He clasped my hand, weaving his fingers between mine and burrowing his fingertips into my knuckles, causing another rush of pain. Instinctively, I tried to pull away, but his grip was tight, warning me to stay put or I would cause more damage to the already wounded hand. I stared at my hand, seeing Sergeant form red energy around it. While it was gravely uncomfortable to feel the muscles and bones in my hand shift and shudder under my skin, I felt my hand slowly healing and the swelling die down. Oh, nice, sweet. Soon enough, my hand looked completely undamaged. Sergeant released my hand and crossed his arms.
There. Better?
Oh, much better. I observed my hand a little longer, bending my fingers and moving my hand through the air. There was no pain, nor was there any discomfort. It was completely healed. I looked up at Sergeant and smiled, nodded. No, smiled, nodding. Yes, thank you very much. Sergeant gave me a simple nod before becoming stern. Did I fuck up? Is he mad?
Now, why do you think your attack didn't work?
I took a moment to think of the answer. There were many things that could have been wrong. I looked at Danthulir, observing him now that I had the chance without my rage-tinted vision. He definitely looked strong, but not strong enough to be a wall of steel. Then again, he was no training dummy either, and I couldn't decimate one of those even after a full day of training. He had pretty tough-looking pecs. He's also wearing armor, dude. I pressed my lips together, trying to come up with an answer. I aimed for his chest. I'm too weak. I don't know. Probably I aimed for his chest. I mean, it made sense. His chest was built like a fortress. Add on the fact that he was obviously a demon and you had a recipe for a normal-sized Hercules. There was no way I was going to break through his ribs. Sergeant nodded.
He's my right-hand guy. Trained him for years and helped him become a living tank. Not even a sharp blade can cut through his chest.
Yeah. I stared wide-eyed at Danthulir as he nodded and pounded his chest with his fist. Huh, huh. I could almost hear the hardness of his skin bounce underneath his armor. Dude, that's badass. Sergeant stepped forward, Danthulir, and turned to face me, pointing his thumb at him.
You're fighting a demon. We're not weak like you humans are.
Hey!
We are faster, stronger, and no more than your entire race could ever understand.
Wow, that's racist. I glared a bit. The insults at my race were uncalled for, but Sergeant crossed his arms, settling into his powerful stance to remind me who was in charge.
But demons are mortal. We all have our flaws. You just need to know how to find them.
Well, how am I supposed to find them? He attacked me as soon as he saw me.
Welcome to war, human. No one gives a shit if you're ready or not, and they'd rather see you dead than in their way.
That's fair. A harsh reality, but he was right. I was going into a war and I was going to get attacked without a second thought, especially because I was a human. I nodded and looked to the floor, causing Sergeant to let out a sigh.
Listen, there's this story we used to pass around in our tribes to inspire our young. Want to hear it?
Oh, fuck yeah. I looked back at Sergeant, raising an eyebrow but nodding out of curiosity. Sergeant stretched his back to the side and looked to the sky.
Long time ago, a pair of demons were after the marriage of a grand chief. One was as strong as 1,000 men and could lift an entire castle off the ground with her hand. The other was meek, but he was as loyal as a person could possibly be. The chief demanded that they fight for his hand, and so, a mighty duel was called at the edge of the highest mountain. Both demons faced off, and when the battle began, the mighty demon struck first, causing the meek demon to defend himself.
I began to imagine it in my head, a large battle between a monster demoness and a small, frail demon. The demoness had the upper hand, but something told me the meeker demon would win. Sergeant continued.
The weak demon ducked and dodged every attack the larger demon threw at him until finally, he spotted a weakness and used it. With all of his might, the demon plunged his small dagger into his opponent's hand, rendering her weaponless. The smaller demon won and became one of the most powerful brute demons of his time with the noble chieftain at his side.
Huh. Wow. Sergeant raised an eyebrow at me.
Do you understand now? There's a reason why weaker demons still survive in battle. Just use your brain.
What? Sergeant telling me to use my brain? Excuse you. I nodded, understanding his lesson. I had to take my time and find a weakness. Danthiller was a new opponent, someone I didn't know. Everything about him was a mystery to me, and I had to learn about him to properly fight back. Sergeant nodded to me before walking away towards the tree line, stopping and turning to lean against the bark of the tree he managed to land by.
Danthiller, beat her ass to the ground.
Well, fuck. No! Oh, no. Here, I'm gonna save. I'm gonna save, because I'm guessing it might be like a quick time event again, so... Wait, what? I suddenly looked at Danthiller, seeing him quickly take up his warhammer and attempt to slam it down onto my head. Luckily, I was able to jump back in time, seeing the hammer slam once again into the ground and form a small crater in the earth. That could have been me. I focused my gaze onto Danthiller, preparing to dodge another attack. My rage flared, and the red tint in my vision came back, causing my opponent to be covered in a black aura. What surprised me, however, was how it was configured. Certain parts of his body were pulsing with energy, while others barely had the black aura emanating from them. I hadn't noticed it before until I focused on it. I barely reacted time to a second attack from Danthiller's warhammer because of how focused I became. I had to put the battle into perspective. I was fighting him, but at the same time I had to study him. It was the most difficult multitasking I have ever had to do. The barrage attacks continued, and I continued to duck and dodge each one. At the same time, I tried to find some way to fight back. I couldn't dodge forever. Then I saw it. His warhammer wasn't glowing at all. If I was correct, then it was a simple warhammer. There was my answer. But what was I going to do with it? I quickly noted the build of it. It was a solid hammer with an intricately wrapped pommel. However, there had to be a weak spot on it, something that would break it like Achilles' heel. As I dodged another attack, I managed to glimpse at a small crack in the hammer. It was small, but if I knew anything about cracking material, then I knew that if I applied my attack directly to it, I had a chance to split the hammer open. I smirked as I fully let my rage consume my thoughts, making the warhammer my target. I charged at Danthiller at full speed and leapt into the air, bringing a hand back while he recovered from his previous attack. With the crack of the hammer as my mark, I swing and slam my hand into it, causing it to rupture and split open.
What?
He's actually surprised. I totally thought this would be staged. The only thing left of the hammer was the pommel, which left his hand wide open for me. I snarled and kicked at his wrist, making him drop it and step back.
Enough!
Immediately, Danthiller jumped back, rubbing his hand with an amused but slightly proud smirk on his face. I jumped back as well, focused on breathing and calming down. As the red haze vanished from my sight, I looked to the approaching sergeant. I blushed a bit as he gave me a couple claps of approval. Fuck yeah, we did it, man!
Now you're thinking like a warrior.
Thank you. I couldn't stop the wide-arching smile across my face. I felt extremely proud that I was praised like a warrior. I wasn't anywhere close to how dense Thiller was, but for the work I had done, I was getting there. I mean, this is only day 2, so I should really get some claps on the back. As the day went on, I was given more obstacles to deal with. I had to maneuver around dummies to get to my target, and then fight off 2 attackers at once. It was a mind-boggling experience, but I managed to get through them in the end. However, I could tell something was on Sergeant's mind. By the end of training, Sergeant couldn't tear his eyes away from the castle. I eventually looked over to barely see a figure standing by a balcony. It's Diana. Who is he staring at so hard? A hand on my shoulder broke me from my thoughts, causing me to look over at Sergeant in surprise.
You're done for the day. Get some rest. Prepare yourself for tomorrow.
Oh, thank God. I slowly made my way into the room and sat back onto the bed, letting the rush of exhaustion run through me like a wave of water. I shut my eyes and fell back onto the mattress with a soft thud. We were a handful of days away, and I wasn't sure how we were going to handle it, now that we were apparently being tested on top of it.
You have nothing to fear from me, child.
That's bullshit. I didn't even have the strength or care to sit back up. I let out a sigh and continued to stare at the ceiling, greeting the voice in my head with a grimace. Why are you doing this? Why not just test him yourself?
One cannot be tested if they are not ready for the consequences.
That got me to sit up. I looked at the fireplace, remembering the dream I had of Sam being burnt alive. A shiver ran through my spine as the voice chuckled.
You know what will happen if he is not worthy of my power.
Well, fuck. But why must he take it?
He wishes to kill the Abomination Demon Lord, correct?
Of course. My anger flared. How is this being so high and mighty of himself? Diana and Seto seemed to respect him for his power. But if he was so powerful, then why wasn't he here himself testing Sam? The voice answered my thought.
I am bound to the dark, as I have always been for eons.
Eons?
Yes, child. My kind and I have lived within the depths of the abyssal plains ever since the dawn of time, feeding off of the ashes of the dead and granting the world above us peace.
What? So, he feeds off the ashes of the dead, but he claims that he grants the world peace? And also, which world? Does it just mean the abyssal plains, or does he mean, like, the human world? Peace? Was this being some kind of underground creature? How was it able to communicate through fire, then?
We are all powerful, child. Should we
Okay,
desire
God.
it, we could bring the world to its knees and drown it in endless flame.
Sounds like you want that. From the power behind its voice, I could tell that he was telling the truth. A violent shiver ran up my spine as I imagined the castle and the land around us completely covered in flames. The voice, however, continued.
Fear not, however. We care little for the world above.
Then why get involved now with the Demon Lord?
The Demon Lord is a mad abomination undeserving of the power of the demon world. For what is to come, he must be eliminated.
I'm so lost. What do you mean, what's to come?
Talking to the voice.
Oh! Hey, babes! Oh, I love his horns. His horns are great. And I love his markings. I quickly looked to the door to see Sam staring at me intensely. What surprised me was that he was in demon form. I could only assume his glamour spell vanished from how much energy he had used in training. I nodded and looked to the fire. The voice was telling me about itself. It apparently lives beneath the demon world. I hoped Sam knew what it was. However, Whatever this thing was, it seemed to think of itself as the most powerful being in the world, which I couldn't verify if it was unknown to me. Sam, however, cocked an eyebrow.
So it's a dragon.
Oh. Wait. What? I shot my head at Sam, both confused and thrown off by the answer. A dragon? A dragon. When did that become part of the list of demons in the world? How were dragons even remotely related to demons? Sam stared at my face and laughed before walking over and ruffling my hair.
What? You didn't think they were real?
No, I didn't. No, I mean, anything's possible at this rate, but a dragon? How is that possible? The voice in my head laughed at my surprise, but what shocked me was that Sam reacted as well to the laughter, looking around the room in shock.
The fuck?
I am surprised that you know of what I am. Oh, Maurice.
Call me Sam.
Yeah, he's like, please don't call me that.
You choose to acknowledge your human name.
Yeah, I do. Got a problem with that?
I love Sam.
You become more interesting to me every day that passes. Sam.
Thanks. Now why the fuck are you testing me?
I love him. He's so blunt. It's great. I love that.
Do you wish to kill the Demon Lord?
I watched a flash of rage rush across Sam's eyes as he nodded, pinning his gaze to the fire before us and seeing the same eyes I had seen before appear within the flames.
Yeah, I do.
Then I will grant you my power, if you are worthy to take it.
What? If I'm worthy? What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah. The voice ignored Sam and focused its attention on me.
Child, you should prepare for tomorrow. You will be tested as well.
Well, fuck. Me? I stared into the fire, now slightly afraid of what test this thing had in store for me. Would it have Diana disguise herself as Sam? Could Diana even do that? I didn't want to assume that it would use the same trick twice. The possibilities were endless. I shook my head and took a breath. I had to be strong and show that I wasn't afraid. All right, I'll be ready then.
Such confidence for a human.
Man, everything's just shitting on humans. With that, the eyes vanished from the flames and Sam looked to me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders.
You alright?
Yes or no? I mean, I feel alright. I'm like, whatever. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. There are dragons now. Well, I think I'll say yes this time. I was nervous. There was no way I could have been alright, yet deep in my gut I knew that everything was going to be okay. I had to be confident in my skills that I was ready for whatever this thing threw my way. I nodded to Sam, seeing him smile a bit. I gave him a little smug smile and flexed my arm. I'll be okay. Let me at it. Yes, fuck yeah. Just say, look at my guns, Sam. Look. I've got biceps. And he'd pat them and be like, I'm so proud of you. Sam laughed, now relaxed, and gently nudged me.
Good. Now kick the test's ass, whatever it is.
Thank you. Your confidence makes me confident. I nodded softly. I had to breathe. Everything would be okay. As I took a deep breath, I took a moment to take in that Sam was still in demon form. I chuckled a bit and touched his horns, which I found hilarious as they protruded from the sides of his head like handlebars. You know what you could do? I have some great plans for those handlebars. I'm never going to get used to you in this form.
Huh? Oh, shit! I forgot to turn back. Sorry!
Aw, no, it's fine. I stared at Sam as he stepped back and looked down at his form in surprise. He rubbed the back of his head. I could see the comfort he had in what was his true form. While it was totally different from his human form, he still had horns and the incubus taint on his skin. Sam shook his head and began to charge his energy.
I'll change back.
You don't have to. Stop him, wait for him to change. You don't have to, babes. Sam was comfortable in that form. If he was exhausted, then he didn't have to use more energy to glamour himself. I held out my hand and walked over, placing it on his chest and stopping him.
Huh?
Don't worry about it. You don't have to. Sam stared for the longest time before smiling and nodding. I was happy to know that he was considerate enough to consider my feelings, but if he was happy in his true form, then I didn't mind sleeping beside it. Yeah. Like, you love him for the man, not for like what he looks like. So, like, who cares? Who cares? As I looked at him, though, a dangerous curiosity crept over me. I know where this is going. I had never really thought of making love to him in this form. In his human form, absolutely, but not with him as the demon he truly was. Would it be different than what I expected? Would it be exactly as I imagined it? I bit my lower lip, letting the curiosity fester in my mind a bit.
Huh? What's with the look?
He's probably like, hey, don't sexualize me. I'm not a piece of meat. And I'm just like, but I'm curious. I didn't notice the expression on my face was making as I stared at Sam's body, causing me to jerk my gaze up into Sam's eyes and shake my head. Huh? Nothing. Ha, ha, ha. I wasn't checking you out.
Nothing, huh?
Yeah, nothing. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Sam slowly began to stalk towards me, forcing me to step back and eventually lean against the wall with him placing his arms on either sides of my head. Ooh. I was trapped and I could only stare up at my captor.
I think you're staring at me and thinking bad things.
You caught me. Please punish me. Yes. Oh, it's too bad. Tears running down my face. I have to say no. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so sad. I can barely even stand it. I felt my heart rush into my throat and silence me as I stared into Sam's emerald eyes, which oh so slightly dilated in a small form of lust. Now I'd done it. Sam chuckled and leaned in close, touching his nose to mine.
So, you gonna tell me the truth?
Absolutely not. Set him straight, take initiative. Aw, man. I want to take initiative so bad, but I can't. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so very sad. Set him straight, I guess. I wasn't in the mood to do anything. It was merely a thought. I crossed my arms. I was, but it was just a thought. Sam stared, blinking a couple times in silence before stepping back and nodding.
All right.
Aw, man. Ugh. Lame. I smiled, happy to know that he was still a courteous guy. He respected me, and that was what made him so much more wonderful. I was filled with glee at the thought that one day I would marry him. Yeah, well, I'm disappointed in my own self, so. Man. It's no fun. No fun at all. With a nod of my own, I slipped into bed with him and closed my eyes. I had to prepare myself for whatever the dragon had planned. I half expected to wake up to Diana to be disguised as Sam as the morning came. However, as I woke, I was happily in the arms of the man I loved. Despite the tired fog over my vision, I could sense that the man who was holding me was the true Sam. The way he held me gave it all away. I wouldn't trust it. As he pulled my body close to him, I giggled, knowing Sam was awake. I know you're awake.
No, you don't, you doofus.
So not. No, you're totally not awake. I laughed and kissed his nose softly, causing Sam to open his eyes. As he gazed into my eyes and smiled, I felt my heart completely swell in joy. I had almost forgotten about the day ahead. All I wanted to do was stay in bed with him a little longer.
Morning.
Good morning. Sam lazily leaned forward and kissed me before pulling me to his chest and sitting us both up.
Come on. Time to get up.
Ugh, lame. Do we have to? As I asked, I could sense new determination from Sam. Something about him seemed confident despite having just woken up. I tilted my head and placed my hands on his shoulders, curious as to why that was. Hey, what's got you so energized? Sam turned his head and looked in my direction, giving me a surprised look himself.
Huh? What do you mean? I'm always energized.
That is true.
Well, that's good to hear.
Sam and I looked over to the door suddenly to see Diana leaning against the archway, holding 2 plates of food. I was surprised to see she was able to carry them. Both plates were piled with food that looked absolutely delicious. Sam and I practically salivated at the sight before Sam shook his head and glared at Diana.
You ever learn how to knock?
I know, right?
Well, we have a lot to do, so I figured knocking would only waste precious time. My apologies.
Well, and also, like, you've been fucking with us this entire time we've been here, so of course we're not gonna just trust you barging in. As Diana walked over at last and handed us their plates before stepping back and crossing her arms, Sam began to chow down as I took the slower approach to eating what I was given with a laugh.
So, are you prepared for your test, dear?
No. That made me stop and look up at Diana. She knew that I was next. She already devoted herself to the dragon before, so it wasn't surprising, but maybe she knew what exactly was in store for me. I couldn't be sure. Do you know what my test is? Diana nodded as Sam looked up to see her answer. I gulped, now a bit worried. Can you tell me?
Unfortunately, no. I cannot. If I could, I would, dear.
I grimaced, looking to the fireplace, knowing that the dragon was probably watching. I half expected him to answer for Diana, but he didn't speak. My mind began to fill with ideas of what it could be about. What was I going to be tested on? How was it going to go down? Would I have to fight? All of the possibilities lingered in my thoughts as Sam finished his food.
Hey.
Yes, my love. I looked at Sam, feeling him rub my back gently with his strong hand. I felt some comfort in the gesture and more from the smile on his face.
You'll be fine. I believe in you.
That gives me the strength to move fucking mountains. Believe in me, get this shit done. Thanks, Sam, or kiss him. Well, considering we know the stakes, one of us could end up in flames, I'm gonna kiss him. I was happy to know that Sam believed in me and supported me. I gave him a loving peck on the lips, causing him to stare wide-eyed with a blush. I had to giggle at the sight while Diana rolled her eyes and let out a groan. She's so, anti-love. Diana, however, looked to the fireplace.
I will say this, though. It should be easy for you.
What? It should be easy. Diana nodded before turning around and looking over her shoulder to maintain eye contact with me.
Yes, that is, if you believe in your love.
Of course I do. I believe so hard, so hard. I stared wide-eyed at Diana before she turned and walked away, leaving me and Sam alone. I grew curious and concerned, but I had to let it go for now. The test was apparently tonight, so I had to wait. Ugh. Well, I was gonna go till the trial happened, but I guess I'm gonna save here for now and pick up on it shortly because I need a break. So, thanks for watching. I hope that the stream wasn't fucked up by the weird internet problems I was having before, because it's totally fine now, but I don't know what it was before. But anyway, hope you like the story so far. This one has me so much more engaged, and I'm super into Sam, as much as I was with Diana. And, that hasn't happened since. Because, Eric was cool. I thought he was cool, and I liked the plot. But, Sam, I'm, into it, man. Anyway, see you in the next one. Thanks for being my guest here. Bye!